Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. It is my great pleasure to moderate this panel today. My name is Giannis Skiadaresis, and I'm the Policy Officer from the European Commission, from the Director General for Migration and Home Affairs, and I'm responsible for the Security Research and Innovation part of the Horizon Europe program, the area of strengthening security research and innovation for security. And today I have the pleasure to have with me here some distinguished speakers. First of all, I have on my left side Serena Bianchi from Cineo, Pantelis Michalis from Sadways, and David Lund from PSCE. Very warm welcome to everybody, and from your side as well, thank you for being here today with us. So today we are focusing more on on a topic which is, I would say, a very pertinent topic, especially for fostering innovation. Why I'm saying that is because we have the case of innovation procurement in general, and in security research in particular, we have some distinguished examples to showcase. And today we'll have the pleasure to discuss about it. So we have the innovation procurement in security. So in order to have a more resilient Europe, to foster resilience and security. So in civil security, public procurement is a catalyst for uptake of innovative solutions as in other areas. However, we have the traditional procurement, and we have different schemes to intensify the acquisition of innovation. As security challenges evolve the procurement tools, this needs to be more innovative in a way to find a way for public procurement to be regarded as a strategic tool rather than a partially administrative tool. This is why in Horizon Europe and the previous programs, we have started using this tool of innovation procurement, the pre-commercial procurement, in order to have a more consolidated view for the, let's say, buyers' needs to have a common capability gap and to identify a common need and find innovative solutions. Here in this slide, you can see what are the theoretical benefits of the pre-commercial procurement. So we have for suppliers, we have the access to innovation for different players. You have standards and benefits. You have different parts that are for suppliers in order to have more, let's say, benefits. From the policy makers, what are the different benefits? To have implementation of political priorities, to have improved innovation ecosystems, and also to have a better quality and price in the end, which is the same as well for procurers, where we have safe product development of public needs. We have to reduce, let's say, the supplier lock-in, to increase technology knowledge, and all of these, they create new cross-border markets. And these cross-border markets that are created, they actually increase export, we have increased global competitiveness, and in the end of the day, we have a stronger EU strategic autonomy for the EU. And then that situation is a win-win-win. So win for suppliers, that they have shared the risks and the benefits, and they have new first customers, but also for policymakers and also for procurers. Here, according to the directive that we have from 2021, this is the Commission guidance on innovation procurement, and we have in two columns here, in the two boxes, you'll see the different different ways to attract innovators and to attract innovation. So with the PCPs, we aim to engage with new markets, to have reduced administrative burden, to reduce the administrative burden, to use lots and use standards, design an SME-friendly environment, but also to mobilize innovation brokers. From the other side, this is to attract new innovators. In order to attract new innovation, we have a better needs assessment in a PCP project. We have a more well-defined and elaborate technical specification, which helps industry as well to chip in and to come into the process. We have a variance and award criteria and different IPR management and contract performance clauses. So now, I would like to start the discussion, previous slide, I will leave this here. I would like to start the discussion from my left with Serena, and I would like to ask you, Serena, what strategic advantages do you see in the PCP initiatives to what I just explained on the theoretical benefits, etc., for European public procurers in terms of assessing cutting-edge technologies in order to find new innovations compared to the traditional tools that we have?
Hi. First of all, I hope you can hear me, and also thank you very much for the invitation and for giving me this opportunity. And also for the introduction, because I think it gives a very good ground in order to start the discussion. I'm here today representing pre-commercial procurement, which is called iProcure Security PCP. And I'm bringing a bit the perspective of the operative perspective from the procurer side. So how we have been working, what have been the shortcomings, the difficulties in the implementation of PCPs. Just to give you a bit of understanding, what is the project doing, because I think it's important. The iProcure Security PCP is implementing technology, innovative solutions for emergency medical services in order to better implement and deal with mass casualty incidents. So from the communication in the field to the allocation of resources on the field and decision-making process up to the creation of a triage tag for the monitoring of the victims. So it's a very complex system. And it comes along, of course, with a lot of work, let's say. What is the, back to your question, I think that pre-commercial procurements are not just a way to get to cutting-edge solutions. It's much more than that. And in the previous panel, one of the speakers mentioned that PCPs are actually a way they help procurers to innovate the way they work. And I think this is a very, very key aspect of the PCP. Because, of course, there is the direct benefit of acquiring innovative solutions. But there is not just that. And I think to really exploit the benefit of pre-commercial procurement, some work must be done. And if it is done properly, and I will come back to this properly, I think that the benefits of PCPs are not just, as said, acquiring a solution, innovative solution, but it's an innovation process as part of the procurers, as part of the procurers organization themselves. What does it mean to work properly? Before creating a cutting-edge solution, something that actually fits the needs of the procurers, there is a massive, I would say, preliminary work that must be done. Which is done through initially with the CSA, then with the phase 0, it's called, of the PCP, where a lot of research is implemented and where public procurers are asked to, first of all, of course, identify specific gaps and their specific needs, which is the basis of the work. But this work needs to be done, in my opinion, taking into consideration two main things. The first one is managing to create the list of requirements, which is the end point, of course, of this work, create a list of operative and functional requirements, which is harmonized among the member states. We are working with member states in Europe, so we have a huge fragmentation among not just on a national level, but also on an organizational level. There are organizations, for instance, in Italy, working in the same field. In Milano, they work very differently than in Benevento, in Napoli, for instance. So you need to prepare the work for creating innovation in a way that overcome all this fragmentation, and it's not it's not easy. It requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of knowledge sharing. And the other thing which is very important to take into consideration is to manage to live when you create a list of requirements. Let's say public procurers have a problem. They know what is their problem. They find a way to harmonize this problem with other public procurers. But on the other side, they must be able to not provide a solution, prescribe a solution. They must be able to keep the requirements open enough to allow the creativity. So if these two components in this preliminary work are set up and done, then I believe that the pre-commercial procurement can be a really, really powerful tool, not just for creating, not just for getting technologies, acquiring technologies, but also to innovate the way we work, to innovate the way how public procurers work. They will be able to understand this is something that we have seen in our project. It's, we are now in the phase 3, so approaching the end of the project.
Interesting.
And what we have seen is that sometimes the public procurers started the project with a specific problem, a specific gap, a specific need, let's say. But the way how the contractors, leaving the creativity and leaving it open, the way the contractors want or proposed to solve this problem was not even in the imaginary of the public procurers at the end. So they are learning, they are understanding better. It sounds weird, but they understand even better what they need, and they allow the technical counterpart to provide solution that they didn't think of. So this is also the difference between a normal procurement, where you have a solution, you have a problem, you procure a solution. The innovative procurement, PCPs, is procuring innovation at the end of the day. And it requires a lot of work, of course. Like, there is a huge amount of work that must be done before by the public, by the end users, the public procurers, in order to allow this innovation.
Great, thank you very much, Serena. We'll come back to this. It was very interesting what you said, to see the perspective from how to organize basically a successful PCP and to consolidate the common needs of the end users, because that's, I think, it's very crucial for the successful outcome in the end. Not to prescribe basically technologies and to keep it open enough so innovation will come in. So this is an excellent pass, as I think, to speak with Pantelis and to tell me from your experience, what are the key benefits, the key, let's say, motivation that drives someone from SME and from industry to enter a PCP project procedure?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. Thank you very much, Giannis, for the invitation and this question. First of all, Pantelis Michalis represents Satways. Satways is a Greek SME. At this moment, Satways is leading 2 solutions in both PCPs that are running under the security cluster. I procure security and prevent PCP. We are in both PCPs in phase 3. And of course, I would like to explain why we are reaching this and why we think that it's beneficial for the SME to participate in PCPs. First, but before we go to this, I would like to say something from my background. I started in 2006 as a policy maker in a Greek MOD, where I participate deeply in innovation procurement under defense domain. And at that moment, and since 2006 to 2024, I understand the importance of innovation procurement in general. Then I go to the procurer side in Center for Security Studies from 2014 until 2021. And from 2021, I am in Satways representing now industry. I fully support what Giannis said at the beginning, that this is a win-win-win situation. From my perspective and from my knowledge until that moment, there is no other tool that could produce touchable results and products, and probably later on we'll discuss more on this. Related to instrument itself and why PCP and also PPI could be attractive for, especially for the SMEs. First of all, starting from the economic part. The economic aspect is not the driving factor for participation of SME in PCP. what is important is the funding scheme. The funding scheme during the phases and the competition that brings small industry to participate. Then one important thing which is a key factor is the cooperation with the end users. End users are in close contact, the buyers group are in close contact with the industry, working together to prepare a solution that it is suitable for their needs. It is important to mention that in PCPs it is needed to have 50% of research, meaning that for sure, in order to participate in a PCP, you should have a solution of a high TRL as a background, and then to modify this solution under interaction with end users. Another key factor, which is something that missing until that moment for the SMEs, is the shorter time to the market. It is essential and it is easier to go to the market based on the fact that you are interacting with the end users, with a buyers group, and your solution is high mature and it's well understood from the end user based on the long testing periods in order after the PCP to be purchased by the buyers group. Another thing which is important for SME is the share risks and the IPRs, which is something that brings and give confident to SMEs to participate. For sure, another thing, it is the access to a new cross-border market. And of course, the other thing which is important, and this is healthy, is the competition during the phases. We all know that we have 3 phases, the phase 1 with at least six participants, the phase 2 with 4, and the phase 3 with 2, meaning that until the end, there is a competition which is of improving and motivate especially the SMEs to participate until the end. Now, related to a practical example, especially related to Sideways, what brings Sideways, and not only Sideways, probably other companies that have the same attitude, the same strategy, is you need to have a realistic business strategy and a model in order to have, when we are getting in the PCP, I mean in the tender of the PCP, to have a strategy and already a background knowledge of a high TRL. This is the first thing that is needed to be done from an SME in order to be, not only SME, but also for the big industry, in order to participate in this type of funding scheme. So I think this is the key message from my side for this
That's
question.
Great. Thank you, Pantelis. With an eye on the clock, I will really move faster to David, and then we can come back and discuss a bit after the first round of interventions. So now, to what Pantelis said, was really interesting as well to see the perspective from industry. What are the key benefits? But from the side of the member states, I would say, David, how do you think that PCP process has been beneficial, has helped the member states to explore the technical possibilities and to improve all the key capabilities that they have, to identify key capability gaps that they have, and such as in the case of mobile communication for public safety. And in particular, I would like to see the case of Broadway, because I think most of us who are in the area of security, we know Broadway as one of the best successful examples of PCPs that we have. But I would like to see your views on this, actually.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Giannis. I'm quite pleased to hear that people look at our project and say, well, that was a success, because right at the start of the program, I had a very different conversation with the Commission. They said, you're the first security PCP, don't mess it up. And there's plenty of times when I thought, actually, that this is really difficult, because the application of PCP in this member state environment was quite a challenge, I'll be honest. So I'm with Public Safety Communication Europe Forum. We're a neutral association based here in Brussels. And we gathered together, we're almost about 9 years since we began this process now, 9 to 10 years. So in 2014, there was a work program published by the Commission and Secure Societies, which said carry out the requirements study for future communication systems for public safety. So at the time, public safety communication was becoming old, and today, even now, they have public safety, police, fire, emergency response. They use radios, they push, they speak, and they talk to their whole group. That's all they can do with that. Short text messages and this. So there's a real communication gap, a technology gap going forward there, because they're still using the 25-year-old technology. And in fact, last year, there was a vulnerability disclosure on the technology. So actually you think, well, why are you still using this old technology? They use it because it's secure, it's resilient, it's reliable, and they trust it. So we've got to find a way of taking the technology further forward for them, such that it's, again, secure, resilient, and trustworthy. We all carry these in our pockets, right? We travel around the world, we go on business trips, we go on holiday, we get off a plane, we turn it on, it just works. For public safety, it's got to do all of that. But it's got to be secure, resilient, reliable, all of those things. Mission critical is the phrase that we use.
Yes.
So going back to around that 9-year time frame, we put the proposal in with 11, not all 11 governments, but 11 governments and agencies, responder agencies, to carry out this requirement study. The project was called Broadmap. So this was a coordination support action, and we, over a year, and in reality over about 3 months over summer, our team managed to do a requirements validation study across more than 270 responder organizations across 18 European member states. So they came back with this brilliant list of requirements. I want this, I want that. I called it the Spice Girls project. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. Anyway, moving on. So that came back to us, and then the Commission were quite keen on seeing that outcome and what's the roadmap between this old technology and the new. And, you know, we were just about getting 4G on our phones at that time. We still had 3. 4G was coming to us as consumers, and now we've got 5G, and my God, 6G is coming. So the pace of advance of this technology is so fast, but how do we get it in the hands of the responders? Moreover, how can responders roam? The point was about interoperable mobile broadband communication for public safety, but yada, yada, yada. We said that's too complicated a phrase. So we turned that around and and put it in the context of the end use. And we called it operational mobility. The ability for responders to carry out their operations with mobile communication wherever they are, whenever they need to, and cooperate with whoever they're tasked to cooperate. The old technology that's still used today is bounded into country. They can't roam with it, yet they should be able to roam with these. So we carried out the PCP. I'm only about that far down my notes, but yeah, time's running. Yeah. We carried out the PCP. We didn't use the word requirements because they have to be broad. We called them objectives. So we had about 80 objectives. We ran the procurement, pre-commercial procurement in 3 phases. We had 4 contractors in the first design phase, led by big industry organizations, Airbus, Frequentis, Leonardo, and Rohill, which is a smaller company. In the prototype phase, Airbus, Leonardo, and Frequentis went forward. We had more challenge there because COVID hit. That stopped us from being able to go and see a prototype. It helped because it allowed, it forced the suppliers to send mobile radios around Europe, so we had the first pan-European mission-critical calls. COVID finished, thankfully. And then we had these 3 large-scale pilot trials, bringing in the end users. So we have, on one side, in Broadway, it was 11 member states at ministry or agency level, procuring from large industry. And in the final phase, we also brought in the responder community. So it's understanding the value chain, the public sector, the industry, the actual end users. And we had 3 large-scale trials. We had the first one in Ljubljana. We had a forest fire trial. We brought 50 responders from all over Europe, different disciplines, from different countries, all using the same mobile radio communication result of Broadway. And then the second one was in Kerkrade, a high-speed drugs chase around the borders of Belgium, Germany, and the Netherlands. And the final one, which really sounds like a nice holiday, but it was a hard day. We had a ferry fire scenario because we rented the cruise terminal in Malaga to do that. Again, responders from all over Europe, 50 responders. They even brought local responders in Spain, especially the fire. And fire said a great thing to me. Said, thanks for that, that's great. We really need this. Sorry, I've got to go. There's a forest fire over there. I've got to go and put out. The smoke's going in the sky. So this is about understanding the different stakeholders and understanding the different realities of their needs. And I've overrun, sorry.
Yes, no, perfect. It's perfect on timing, and we will come back to the second round of questions. Just to mention here that from our side in the Commission, Broadway was, and the member states, I think it was the first realization after the unfortunate and terrible events in 2015, after the terrorist attacks, where we had tragic events and law enforcement from different member states in a cross-border mission trying to find the perpetrators. They couldn't communicate. That was because we have this interruption in roaming when you change borders, and you have this interruption in critical communications. So that was a huge gap from the side of the end users, and that's where we realized that we really need a pan-European system to speak broadband securely communication system. So then I will come back to this, but I would like now to focus again on Serena and what she said about before about the end users and the cross-border component of the BCP. So I would like your views on how we can strategically leverage from BCP in terms of strengthening this cross-border collaboration element from the different projects that you're participating. For example, we have the case of iProcure Security, which is a very successful project so far, and have to share among member states the different views and on public procurement practices afterwards.
Yes. So I think generally everybody here and a lot of colleagues of mine also in other projects in other fields, we are all doing, like what I see, that most of the people are doing a great job, but the problem is that we are really focused, and I talk on my personal experience, when you're developing a project, when you're developing new technologies, you are kind of in your bubble, and you want to make this work as better as possible, but sometimes you should look up a bit, get out of your bubble and see how what you are working on, not just the technology, everything that you're working on, how can these have an impact also somewhere else, for somebody else as well. For instance, I'm thinking now, again, starting a bit from the experience of the iProcure Security PCP, which is developing something for a very specific target group, for very specific public buyers, which are the beneficiaries of the project, and a very specific technology, so to say. However, if you try, or at least from my experience, when I try to see what we are doing there and see how it is needed in other places. For instance, in the defense sector, I'm working also in security and defense sector. And the technologies that we are developing as part of, or that are developed as part of the iProcure Security PCP, and the whole work done as part of the project can be taken and basically applied to other domains, to other stakeholders, of course being adapted to the specific policies, needs and domains, of course. But the impact that this project can have is much, much broader than the one that finishes with the project itself, with the iProcure Security PCP, for instance, or any other project. So I think this need from our side, from beneficiary sides, let's say, that are working on in several domains, the invitation is to try to see a bit what is around and how what we are doing can have impact on other domains. That's the first thing. The second thing that I think is it's important. I hear today, I was unfortunately here just today, but I've heard a lot about the difficulties from contractors, but also for procurers in entering into PCP procedures because it's complicated. And it is true, it's complicated. Like there are procedures, it takes time, it takes technical competencies, and so on and so on. However, as part of the project, and again, I always give my perspective because it's what I know, but we have, for instance, creating a platform which is called the Innovation Procurement Platform in order to simplify these difficulties. From one side, the difficulties from the suppliers to apply to a call for tender in the PCP procedures. From the other side, there is also it's complicated for the procurers to evaluate the technologies and the proposals that they get. It's a lot of work. It's again, it requires a lot of competencies, a lot of understanding. So it's a complex project, and things, however, are done in order to simplify this complexity. So I think that what is done shouldn't simply stay in the place where it is created for, but it should be taken and used and being implemented and being exploited and really, really, first of all, go out there, that people know what is happening, and it can be then repeated and take over. It's never a copy and paste, of course. It's always an adaptation. But there is a lot of things that are done from the technological perspective, from the administrative perspective even. So what we are trying to do, for instance, is to there is always a side part of the project, which is we call them observer boards, observer members. Those stakeholders who are not beneficiaries of the project, but who may be actually interested in what is happening in the project. So in order to create this cross-border cooperation, cross-information of good and best practices, of knowledge, of technologies, we are trying to involve these additional stakeholders as part of the project, of course not as beneficiary but as observers, in order to understand if what is being created in all its forms can be used also from them in other contexts. And I say there are a lot of examples of things that can be have a cross-border component. I said security defense, for instance, are two domains which are which have a lot of overlaps. So my invitation is to kind of really use what we do and get out of our bubble and see a bit broader the impact that our action can have.
Yes, thank you, Serena. And yes, I would just simply add that another field which is open, for example, in this kind of technologies is health as well. That's
absolutely.
For me is one of the most cross-domains differences and added values that we have from a spin out of the bubble of security, let's say.
Absolutely.
And then having here in the slide, Pantelis, we've seen that one of the key benefits, according to the analysis, is shared risks and benefits for the supply side. And from your perspective, what are the key benefits that the PCP scheme is providing to industry and to companies?
Yes. Okay. I would like to be short on this because the messages should be very strong. Key messages and key benefits is the cross-border market, mainly the market that need finally to purchase common product. And I think that the interaction within a PCP, it is the first step to go from R&D to purchase of the product. We have an examples in two PCPs that we participate, and it is important that for the prevent PCP, probably the solution will be used for the Olympic Games in Paris this year. While for the iProcure Security PCP, some of the end users are looking as it is their the solutions provider as they are their own products. So meaning that they have already owned them. They have the feeling that they are theirs. They would like to use it as this. So the most important benefit is the cross-border market and the interaction with the end users. The other thing that it is should be mentioned related to the security research in general, which is, we all know, all the researchers involved on the security research it is an applied one. So I think that the PCPs in general, I don't say must, but for sure they should play a fundamental role in the security research from now on, based on the competition and the competitive pathway within the three phases of the PCPs. We all know that even from phase 1, we have 6 solutions as a blueprint. In phase 2, we have 4 solutions as prototype, and in phase 3 we have 2 solutions in a pilot phase, in pilots. So just within one call we have at least 6 solutions. The only remark on this, and it is mainly from the procurer side, is that it is important the CSA, which could be independent or in PCP, meaning the phase 0, should be implemented carefully, meaning to identify the end user requirements, and of course another important factor is the existing market, solutions that are mature enough, but more research is needed. If one of these 2 is not implemented well, we have a high risk of not implementing PCP in a proper way.
Yes, thank you, Pantelis. Indeed, it's very crucial to have from the start a different mentality in the PCP projects, because we are not, as in a traditional project, starting research for the sake of research. Here, it is identified a key capability gap by practitioners without technology prescription. They identified the key requirements, and then following that in the phase 0, as you said, having the clear set of requirements, then the competition starts basically. So the industry comes and brings technology on board. Now, for David, coming back to what you said before on the Broadway project and how you managed to finish a very, I would say, so far is well known as successful project. I'm saying, seeing the future, let's say, what are the next steps and how do you see the afterlife of a PCP project? Because so far we discussed about where we are involved in PCPs and when we are inside the process, but after, what happens next? That's my question.
Yeah, that's, let's just say the challenge gets bigger, right? The CSA is like this, the PCP is like this. Now it goes ballistically huge. So what happened after Broadway? You know, we saw, well, actually, this is progressing to see actually the solutions are being developed. The standards are there, the solutions are being developed, and actually we got some interesting feedback from the rest of the industry community wanting to be involved. We had this continuous query, when can we get involved in this? Not just from the industry, but also from other countries. You know, we had 11 countries at government level involved in Broadway, and some countries are saying, when can I get involved? And industry as well, but in PCP, you're going from 4 teams to 3 teams to 2, so you're cutting people out all the time, and they're saying, how can I get back involved? So I had further discussion with your colleagues in home and said, look, what's next then? How do we take this beyond? Because we're the first security PCP, and what's next? And you know, we still had to explore that. So what happened in this case, because we can see the demand happening, coming at us, and we can see things were starting to look like they're going to succeed. And we had that conversation. And so what happened, they managed to find a little bit more money, not much, but a little bit more money to keep us going beyond within the internal security fund of DG Home. And we progressed there to think, well, actually, now that we've got this technology, how would we actually put it into practice across the whole of Europe? And we start thinking about governance factors. And then we start thinking, well, how do we actually take it step forward on a technical level? So in Broadway, we had the 2 pilots at the end in 3 trials, but they were handled and managed by the industry. So how do we then take that into our hands and actually manage that ourselves? So we put forward together this program, BroadEU.net. We couldn't call it BroadNet because of a trademark issue, but BroadEU.net. And all of a sudden, we've got 16 countries now, and I've got 5 waiting to join next time. It gets bigger and bigger. This is on the technical level, and the idea is we're going to procure the solutions of Broadway, but we know the marketplace has evolved around the standards. We know there are more players out there, so we've gone back out to full market. But procuring test beds of mission-critical communication systems, just test beds, put them in the countries, interconnect them, let's see responders being able to roam with their devices. And we've just begun that, actually. We began that in September, and we've been preparing a procurement, not PCP, it's a full procurement process. We're procuring the solutions and putting them into practice. And hot off the press, yesterday we had our first open market consultation briefing event with industry. It's the first time we've talked to industry since Broadway. And the event was really heavily subscribed. We had more than 90 people turn up to the call. More than 40 industry companies were represented. The big players who were involved, and not just the big players involved, but also some of their competitors, brought a whole team of people to that call. So we can see already the demand, you know, the PCP has actually sparked the entire marketplace, not just from the buyer side, but also from the industry side. So we're very pleased to see that. So over the next year, we will procure these test beds, put them into practice, and really see the benefit of what the PCP innovation showed us. We only saw it shown in the pilot trials in Broadway. This time, we're going to make it live and operational. It won't be a final live system in operation for response, but we will see the capability and functionality that it will offer. It will then be able to become that pan-European system of systems one day. In parallel, our colleagues at home have set up this mission-critical expert group, and the recent white paper on, I forget the exact title, future communication challenges, whatever, I can forget the title of it, explicitly cites the goal towards the European Union critical communication system, all founded around what we explored in Broadmap and Broadway, and now continuing to explore in BroadEU.net. Another piece of policy happened last year, and that's the EU strategy on space and defence, which is about the satellite constellations and the Iris Squared program, and it says in there they should work with what we're doing in the Broadway solutions towards broader UNet. So we've got the foundations there. The mission critical expert group, by the way, is not just our countries, our 16 plus 5, but it's all EU member states plus all plus the Schengen member states as well. So 31 countries are represented or invited there, and I think only 1 or 2 didn't turn up to the meetings. So actually, we've got the train has left the station, let's put it that way. Yes. And they say EU CCS by 2030-ish.
Yes.
I'll believe that when I see it.
Hopefully.
But,
yes.
That's what we'll aim for, yeah.
Yes, that's
sure.
the aim. And as you said, it's very impressive to see how everything was started with a small project, then became a PCP, and then even we are now at the stage that created policy. That's, I think, it's a huge success for other PCPs to get inspiration and to see how they can even create and to be more creative, as you said, and then sky's the limit, I would say. Yeah. So now I would like to make it more interactive and maybe ask for your participation as well. We can go to Slido and we have prepared some questions for you. Please, you can scan the QR code and to respond to the questions that I asked as well on the sides to the speakers, and to see your views. So, for example, the first question is, which of the following benefits of the PCP do you consider that has the highest positive business impact? The first option is access to new small players. We have shorter time to market, faster company growth, shared risks and benefits, economies of scale, new cross-border markets, or increased exports. So while Slido is starting populating, I would say that according to our discussion, basically, we've seen that most of these benefits, they are in a PCP project, right? We've seen here replies coming on. And can we have the previous screen to see the results? So basically we have in the audio from the audience that shared risks and benefits, as we discussed, is one of the key and most important benefits of the PCP, because risk aversion is one of the problems that we face in many projects and especially in the market as well. So we have access to new small players and shorter time to market, being in second place, and of course new cross-border markets and other here. Do you have any comment on this, or should we proceed to the next slide? And then we can have an interactive discussion with the audience, of course. Okay, next, let's have the second. So from the second question that we have prepared for you is, which of the following Commission recommendations is important to attract innovators to a PCP call for tender? We have engaged with the market, reduce administrative burden, adjusting the selection criteria, using lots, use of standards, open data and interfaces or softwares, designing SME-friendly payment schemes, and developing an ecosystem which is favorable. Seeing that the Slido is already moving and populated, I would say that we see clearly that developing an ecosystem approach for innovation is the most preferable option. It's one of the best and important factors to attract innovators in a new PCP call, basically, call for tenders. And I think that's a message that we should pass as well to the end users preparing proposals for next year. Also, reduced administrative burden is important, engage with the market, and mobilizing innovation brokers. Now, we can move maybe to the next part and ask for your questions. I can open the floor to the audience in case you have questions for the panelists. Yes, we have one question here in the front.
Hi, thank you very much. Actually, two questions.
We will need this.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we will need this, sorry.
Give us one moment, please.
Should have done this earlier.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for this interesting discussions. Actually, I have two questions. The first one is related to the presentation of the Broadway project. Actually, I'm involved in the PCP project, but from the other part. So, and we're heading toward the end of the project. So, one of our, let's say, key points that we'd like to address in the coming months, besides the fact of demonstrating the solutions, would like to ask you some what you have done towards the end of the project in order to maximize the go-to-market for the companies. We would like also to facilitate the work for the companies like Satways in order to reach the market and sell the solution. But also we know that our end users and public buyers, they are really keen to buy the solutions, and it seems that normally they need to go in anywhere for a normal procurement if the solutions are done, which will have long, let's say, time in order to find budget, go for the normal procurement procedures and buy the solutions. But also, sometimes we know that it's not possible to go directly to sell the solutions. We'd like also to ask you if you have had some, let's say, examples of the companies that have developed the prototypes, if they have went also, you help them in going for protecting their innovations through IPR or also contributions to new standards, since your solutions in any way they need to either respect some standards or issue new standards. So this is the first question. Sorry if it's too long, and I will just also ask the second question. It's more related to from the European Commission side. In the last 2 days, I have been participating to different workshops on the innovation procurement in different sectors, and I saw that only few sectors they know about the instrument. We're talking here about security. I saw also in the health sector, but also on sustainability and environmental protection. So other sectors maybe they are less keen to this, or they don't know about the instrument. So but also from our experience in the last years, we saw that from a let's say normative issue, there is some differences in different countries. For example, there are more specific EU countries that they know very well the instrument. They have their national rules, so that it's very easy to launch this kind of instruments. Other countries, they are having very complex procedures. And I would like to ask Giannis, for example, what do you think that which are the European Commission role in standardizing or facilitating this among the different member states, so that we don't see only EU-funded PCPs, but also PCPs at national levels that are also, let's say, promoted by the national governments? Thank you.
I think we can collect a couple of more questions and then come back and reply. Please also, as Yusuf did, direct your questions directly to the speaker that you are addressing. One question in the back, yes, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for the very interesting session. I'm Masayuki from the Public Procurement Unit of the OECD in Paris, and I'm also working for the innovation procurement with the EU member states. And one question, sorry, a little bit technical, maybe to Serena. And after the PCP, we need to, launch the other separate competitive procurement procedure to procure the outcome of the PCP. So in your experiences, how often, PCP trigger separate procurement procedure to procure the outcome of the PCP? And in that case, which procedure might be most often used, like a competitive dialogue or restrictive procedure, competitive procedure with negotiable, these kind of things? Thank you very much.
Okay, maybe Dave, let's start the round of the answers.
Okay, so I'll take that off. I've got an echo in my ears. So the question, as I understand it, is how do we, help facilitate you to commercialize as a participant in the PCP, how to commercialize beyond it? Yeah. So in Broadway, we continue to do to facilitate the networking, and in our side, the procurement in Broadway was about the pan-European scope of interconnection of systems, but actually, for us, it's a bigger marketplace inside the country as well. So the people involved around what we're doing are buyers for the same outcome for different reasons. So, for example, we're procuring this mission-critical service technology, which is standardized. And as that's enhanced the maturity of the technologies through the PCP, those vendors then can actually go into the national procurements as well, because they will, EU CCS will be a system of systems, and each member state will have to procure its own system on a national scale. So in France, for example, they've procured the national system for about 900 million. It's a big, big budget of procuring that. And in Finland as well, they're procuring a national system. For us, we're facilitating the advancement of the technology, of the standards, but we're not actually necessarily buying on full scale pan-European. But our buyers are individually. The point is that there are other buyers out there with the same interest. We have a group of procurers that have that common goal within the PCP, but we also realize there's more of them. Like I said, we started with 11 buyers in Broadway. Now I've got 16, and it's up the whole Europe. So they've all got that common interest. So if we can find that way of looking at the common challenge, I would say, of the PCP and figuring out, well, who are the rest of the stakeholders, get them engaged, and that's the way the PCP, that's what we've done. We've tried to engage all of the community, really. And I said on the call yesterday, this open market briefing we did, I said, look, we're the shop window for you. We're the shop window. Come and get involved in what we're doing here on the pan-European scale, because you will find the marketplace on the national scale as well. So it's about figuring out who are the bigger scale of that commercial market, really, and then helping those involved in the PCP to reach it. It's networking, yeah.
Indeed. And to
Hope I answered it.
Yeah, and to the question actually that was for us, I think it's a very interesting point to raise. From the pan-European side, now we have already, I would say, 12 years of experience of pre-operational validation, first the POVs and now the PCPs. We have a lot of success stories and examples to give, lessons learned from all these PCPs. But as you said, Yusuf, the guidance behind at the EU level is, of course, the Innovation Procurement Directive, which provides clear way forward. We can discuss if this is complicated, if it's a heavy burden or not. But now the next step is how we can support the member states to use this tool, because it's there. It's out there. We don't need to create something new. It's a tool that we've been using at EU level for the last 12 years. And now we would like to support as well in some cases. We have seen the willingness from the member states to take up the tool. The problem that we are facing is that the procurement side is a different world in its member state. So the challenge here is not how we can procure innovation. The challenge is how we can procure innovatively, basically, how we can help the member states. The idea we have so far, one example, Spain used already the PCP mechanism for using money from RRF, from the Recovery Resilience Fund, in the area of security, where different challenges have been identified. And I think that's a very good example also for the rest of the member states to take an inspiration. And as Commission, we are here to support in this process.
Also to the question, just to make sure that I understood correctly, it's also kind of connected to what has been asked to Dave on what happens after, what are the procedures to put in place after the PCP in order to procure the solutions. Beside what has been already said, I think that there is not really one way to, one pathway to take. There are different, because as mentioned already, there are different, we are dealing with a lot of member states, with a lot of national frameworks that are very different, and you have to take into consideration. Also, we are dealing with very different environments. If I think about the emergency medical service, for instance, but also law enforcement, they are extremely unique in this. They are very different from one another. So it's what we have done that it seemed to be very useful is to try to create something that is extremely flexible, so that at the end you don't have to procure a huge monster of super expensive solution, but you can decide based on your specific needs, based on your structure, based on your national framework. You can decide, for instance, to procure one specific thing that you can easily integrate into your system, and this flexibility allows to simplify after the end of the project the procurement phase, which can be done in different ways. Of course, it can be done through PPIs, it can be done through national procurement, it can be done through a lot of different tools are available already, and depending on the infrastructure that you are funding to deal with, you can decide. But I think that flexibility helps a lot, creating something that is flexible and easy to use and adaptable, and yeah, it's one of the key components.
Thank you very much. I think we are right on time. I don't want to be the one keep you away from lunch, so I would like to thank you very much, everybody. Thanks the distinguished speakers. Big round of applause for everyone. And thank you very much for coming today here and listening to us. Thank you very much.